Hi, it's Karen W. from Kitchener Public Library, and today we're going to be working on our tween nature wind chimes. So before you're ready to start, I hope you've gone out and looked through on some of your walks around your backyard for some things that you find really beautiful in nature. So I'm just going to show you some of the things I've got. So I collected those first. So I didn't include something to hang your wind chime because I think it's really fun to go out and find and more interesting. So I found this amazing stick. It's got these beautiful dried pine cones. And what's great about this is it has a really interesting shape, and you could hang it in like upright with like a wind chime, more vertical, or you could use this curve this way on a diagonal or curving up like that. So it's got really great shape, lots of potential for design. So you're wanting your chimes, the little bells I included, to be able to swing together and make sounds. So you're just going to play around with design and balance. I also found like another little pine cone, and there's some interesting bark I might use. I'm not sure yet. I've got some great stones. So these are just pretty stones I've collected. Again, I'm not sure if I'll use this, but I found this great shell in a pot. And then we have the things from the kit. So I'll get you to find your nature things, assemble them. Then we're gonna go over the contents of the kit. You need something to mix the paper mache, and we're gonna use that with those cookie cutter shapes. You should have a squirrel and a leaf. I'm gonna use 2 leaves, and we're gonna mix that up. So you need a surface to work on. You need a measuring cup, a mixing bowl, maybe a spoon or something to mix things with, and some water. And then I also used on some of my beads, I've already been playing around, I use some markers. So if you have some of the wood beads, you can color. Some are glossier, but some the surface will let you color. So if you want to color them, you can leave them natural. They look amazing natural. So I'm just going to flip the camera down so we can see what we've got. So let's go over the materials in the kit. So you've got a couple of these shapes. You should have a squirrel and a leaf. There's different leaves. This is an oak, there's an elm, there's different kinds. And these are actually cookie cutters. So if you wash this carefully afterwards, we're just using this paper mache in the bag if you want to use it to make a shape to hang. And the fun thing about this is completely non-toxic. So you could just wash this off and you can actually make cookies later, which I love. We've got some chimes, our bells. We've got 2 or 3. You might have had more of some things. It all balances out. So we've got these nice green wires. And there's some nice cord. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to use it to hang things and maybe hang the whole piece. I've got, this is going to be to tie it up. We've got some buttons and some different kind of colored beads, different sizes of buttons. And I'm going to add that with my stones, maybe a pine cone. I'll just kind of see how it all goes together. You're going to need your bowl, a measuring cup, the paper mache, that's in this bag right here, and some water. And I'm just going to show you how I'm going to put mine together, but I'm hoping, please experiment and feel free to make your own special creation, your own nature wind chime that you can hang outside. Start and make my paper mache because that takes a couple days to dry. So again, if you want to start this and then put it together, or you want it to do most of your wind chime and add this later, you can keep building on your wind chime. You can add different things. So I've got your paper mache like this. It's already a pulp with clay, really fine clay. So you can see I've got a little bit on my hands. It's completely non-toxic and it's really fun to work with, and it's really easy, and it's perfect with a cookie cutter. So I have a half a cup, and I'm just gonna pour that in. You should have about, I think I gave you guys about a cup. You don't need that much. I just wanted to make sure. I might have given you half a cup or a little bit over. So put water in to just below that, and then we're gonna add it. And you're gonna need to work on a surface that you've covered. So I'm gonna work on this plastic. So I'm just gonna pull it over. And now we're gonna mix this. So you want this mixed thoroughly so it's not too lumpy. So I'm just gonna get a tool. This spoon, like it's an old spoon, but you can wash these things. As I say, it's non-toxic. It's called Celluclay. It's fantastic. So just add a little bit of water. You want about equal water to paper mache, and just mix it. It's like oatmeal, if you've ever eaten oatmeal. So kind of, oh, it's looking pretty good. And fantastic. So it's just easier to work with. If it's really, really wet, it'll be hard to get it out of your shape, and a lot of the water will just kind of pour out. So I'm gonna grab my shape. I'm on plastic, and we're just gonna move this to the side. So I'm gonna put it on the white part of this plastic so you can see what I'm doing. Let's see there. So what we wanna do is fill it in the shape, and then we can just carefully push it through. So you can do it either way you want. You can do it this way or this way. It's up to you. So I'm gonna put it in here. Now you could also roll this out. So we'll try it both ways, but I think this works pretty well. So I'm just gonna push it in here. You want it to be inside all of that squirrel or leaf shape. For the squirrel, I think I flattened it out first. So I just kind of put it till it's covering all of the shapes like this. And then it doesn't have to be perfectly. I'm just gonna smooth it flat, smooth part, and you just press it down because it's not gonna stick to where there's plastic. Push it around till you get it kind of, just like if you were making cookies. And then once it's all filled, you want it to be in all the parts, and I'm just gonna remove it. And we can do this 2 ways, so we're gonna try both ways and see which is better. So if you just carefully, gently push it down, and if it doesn't work, so that was pretty easy, just like maybe your paper mache celluclay is too wet or too dry, then you can just like push it through and either add a bit more or let it dry for an hour or 2. So once we've got it like this, this is gonna be a great shape, kind of like the squirrel. He's about that thick. So this is my dried one. Now you need a hole so that we can hang this. So, okay, so I've got my pencil. So you can use something like this with the tip, or I actually often use, you could use the stick. I'm just gonna take a pair of wood chopsticks, pull them apart, and this is kind of a perfect size. So you wanna pick a thickish part so it doesn't break, and just make a little hole. So when it's dry, so I think you can see that, yep. You'll be able to put either this cord or this fine wire or whatever you want to hang it. I used a different method for the squirrel cookie cutter. So I just laid out a layer. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick to press down my cookie cutter shape because there's a bar across the back. Then if you press this down, so you're kind of doing the same thing. It's just this, you got to clean up a little bit more. So then you just take all this extra and you're gonna throw it back in. So you can make a bunch of these leaves because I gave you quite a bit of material, or a bunch of squirrels if you want to hang tons of them. They just, as I say, they take a couple days to dry. So you want it nice and dry before you hang it. So you'll get the same effect, and then you can make delicious and really neat looking nature cookies if you want with this shape. Green forest wire. Now these are great because they're really easy to thread them through really difficult shapes. So I'm going to put it through 2 of my bells, and I'm going to do 2 of these. So you can decide what shapes you want. You've got different colors, and you can try ringing them together. So I'm just threading these through. And then what you need to do so it doesn't fall off is twist this end. Sorry, let me try and stay in camera. You're going to twist that, and then you're going to rotate it. So wrap it around and make sure you can see it. There we go. And now when that's hanging, that's going to make this great sound. It'll be easier. So you can see how flexible this wire is. Now you could add other things if you want. So I'll just demonstrate. I'm thinking I'm going to leave mine fairly plain. So you could add like a button on there. Oops, where's my camera? There we go. So you can have these things with buttons. Maybe we'll add some buttons. We'll add a couple things. So I'm just going to string it. So look for you got, even on these really fine shapes, there's a little hole in the ends of the beads or the buttons. You just thread it through. So it's starting to look a bit like that. Now when this is hanging, it will look like that. So you might want things on there, or you might want it just to be the 2 hanging. So play around with it, decide what you want. So next step is to take your stick and you're going to figure out where you're going to tie it so it can hang and where you're going to put the rest of your materials. So the easiest thing is just to tie, I'm using that cord and I'm going to put it on both sides of my stick because that's kind of an easy way to hang it up, and then you can use that twist tie. And so just tie it on different ways, and then you can finish adding beads and decorating and start putting it together and figuring out how it's all going to hang so that there's so things can swing and it's not knocking into things. So just keep like taking things off, adjusting your string till you get it the right way when you're hanging things that your chimes can ring. So I'm going to take my wire with my bells on and I'm going to do a loose circle at the top and then just twist it so it stays on, but that I can move things. All right, so as you can see here, it's hard to show you exactly, but this can swing really easily. So I'll have to hang this up and play with it, but this is just an idea of you want it to be loose so that the beads can move up and down and these bells can chime. So I'm just gonna add my next one. And I'm not sure if I'll keep it beside it, but for now I'm gonna start with the two of them together. Now you can decide if you want them to be the same length or do you want one longer. So it's all just kind of your design, and just again, make a big loop here if you want it to swing around. So I'm keeping this pretty loose. I'm not tightening it a lot because you might want to adjust it. So let me, sorry, the beads. I'm just doing it loosely. And now these two are able to move around a lot, and hopefully in a windstorm or on a windy day, you can hear that. So I'm just going to swing them in here. Now I'm going to start working on the rest of my wind chime because I'm just happy where those are. So I'm just going to clean them up and tighten them up a little bit. And now I'm going to take the rest of my thin wire, and I love this wire because it's really easy to use. It's really flexible. It's light. You can cut it with scissors. And I'm just going to bead some of my wooden beads. Now just remember, you have to secure the end or everything will fall off. So if you just twist it around the end, and it's really easy to do that. And then you can start looking at all the different shapes you want to do. So if you want to add some natural organic materials, if you want to add pine cones or your rocks, I'm going to try a few things. Sometimes the rocks are a little bit tricky, so I was having, might want to use that rock or some buttons or different shapes. So you've got all kinds of fun things in your kit, and you can just try different things until you get it the way you like it. I'm adding different bark and beads, and I'm just going to get that different configurations, and then I'm just going to loosely attach it in a big loop at the top, like with the other wire, so it can swing. So I'm just going to show you it outside. So I've just hung it up for a minute to sort of test it out. And this is the part I just made, and these are the chimes. And just make sure it's balanced and everything can move, and then you can keep going and adding more parts to it. So I've taken this outside and just hung it up to make sure it's balanced. And I've made this one a bit longer. I just want to make sure everything can move about so that the chimes can ring. And I can keep working on this, and I'll show you some different configurations later. So just have lots of fun with your wind chime. Try different shapes, try different balancing, and until you get it the way you like it. You can take it apart, add different nature shapes. So I had lots of fun making mine, and it's gonna hang out in my garden. And this is Karen W. from Kitchener Public Library, and thanks for joining me.